All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. Today, we're going to be talking about things that are going on in Iran as things are getting out of control with all of the protests that are happening, started in Tehran, and now they're moving to other cities, and there's supposedly a big day of unrest that they're trying to get going tomorrow with channels from Telegram. We're going to be talking about all of that. There are other stuff like Zoran Mamdani has become the new mayor of New York City, and some concerning things of what he has said there. And then, of course, we have other stuff. There's Russian intelligence about the strikes or potential strikes on Putin's residence. And then, of course, from there, a drone was knocked down in Afghanistan. Federal Reserve is pumping money into the system through liquidity. And from there, there's all kinds of other stuff. As the other video on PrepperNow, Mother Channel said, new year, new problems. So let's get started on your crisis report for January 1st, 2026. I apologize this is going so late. We are going to get this all under control, but you got to suffer with me for a couple more weeks. But I'll be putting out 2 posts. I'm going to plan on doing these much earlier than at 1:24 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. But right now, folks, this is as good as I can do it because we're in another state all day doing cousins miss, as we call it, and exchanging gifts and seeing our cousins. So let's get started with your crisis report from the late show. Here we go. Zoran Mamdani is now officially the mayor of New York City. We wish them luck. Good luck. Protesters, security forces have been clashing in southwest Iran, according to local media. President Trump, a Nobel Peace Prize aspirant, hopes for peace on earth as the world has entered 2026. Iran has executed at least 1,500 people in 2025, a 35-year record according to rights groups. Bernie Sanders was the person that swore in Zoran Mamdani in New York City. He did it to a Quran. Joe Rogan says that drug overdose deaths have dropped off a cliff after the Trump administration has been targeting drug smuggling boats. I would love to see some official numbers on that, backing that claim up. Russian intelligence has retrieved a flight plan from the Ukrainian drone that supposedly shot down near Putin's residence, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. Decryption shows the drone's ultimate target was a specific facility within Putin's Novgorod residence. Evidence will now be handed over to the U.S. officials. And what kind of weapons is Russia moving to Iran? We reported yesterday that for the last 24 hours, numerous planes have been going there. Another Russian IL-76TD cargo plane landed in Tehran a few hours ago. That's the 5th plane in 48 hours. I think we were at 3 planes yesterday, so now we're at 5. I don't know what they're putting in there, but something's going on. American MQ-9 Reaper drone was crashed in Afghanistan. Taliban said that they shot it down. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know. Following Israel's recognition that the UAE has also quietly recognized Somaliland without announcing it, they now accept passports and documents from Somaliland in their official visa website. Visitors from Somalia are banned from the United Arab Emirates visas. Just after midnight on New Year's Day in Amsterdam, the historic 19th century Vondelkerk Church was set on fire. The church was severely damaged, reported severely damaged. I want to go look and see if we can't get you a picture of this and see if it's the one that I think it is. I'm pretty sure. I'm not quite sure if this is the one that is right by Anne Frank's very famous residence there. I'm not seeing it, but this church is extremely important and old. So let me put this and see if it's the big one, because there it is. Yep, not too far away. So a little different, but anyway, the church is historic, and I'll put it to you guys. Who do you think did this? Do you think it was another one of those rogue Amish folks that live over there and in the Netherlands and do terrible things? Who do you think was the one that possibly tried to burn down the church? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was lightning. We don't know yet. But who do you think did it? We'll just let that, yeah. White House shared a New Year's post saying, "Welcome to the Golden Age." On PrepperNow, Subscribe Star, and Locals, I have posted a very interesting history of what the Golden Age means. You might want to go check that out. It might not be what you think it is. Direction of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Joint Task Force Southern Spear, conducted kinetic strikes against 3 narco-trafficking vessels traveling in his convoy. These vessels were operated by designated terrorist organizations in international waters. Intelligence confirmed the vessels were transiting along known narco-trafficking routes and had transferred narcotics between the 3 vessels prior to the strikes. 3 narco-terrorists aboard the first vessel were killed in the first engagement. The remaining narco-terrorists abandoned the other 2 vessels, jumping overboard and distancing themselves before fellow on engagements sank with their respective vessels. Following the engagements, U.S. Southcom immediately notified the United States Coast Guard to activate the search and rescue system. Federal Reserve has just pumped a staggering $31 billion into the U.S. banking system through overnight repos. This is the largest liquidity injection since Rona, surpassing even the peak of the dot-com bubble. Happy New Year. We cover this over on PrepperNow. We just did a live stream over there. If you really want to know what the repo is, it basically adds liquidity, and it is not normal, it is not good that they need to put this kind of money in there. The United States Treasury has printed another $105 billion today. Runaway tanker Bella 1 is officially rebranded as Marinera, a Russian, according in the Russian ship industry registry. By adopting the vessel under a national flag, Moscow has potentially created a major legal hurdle for U.S. forces currently in pursuit. We did a big kind of deep dive. People saying, why don't they just get this thing? It's a tanker. The guy that did it knows the shipping industry, and he said it'd be like a single cop car chasing after a trailer truck, 18-wheeler. If the 18-wheeler doesn't slow down, cop car's not going to stop it. Population decline in Cuba, 2020, 2025, the demographic emptying, estimates based on official census and migration flows. Loss of 2.7 million people, or 24% decline. Ouch. Historic context, Cuba's 24% decline in 5 years is similar to the Irish potato famine. This will be looked back on as an epoch-defining moment for Cuba. It's too big to be anything else. Curtis Yarvin has argued in his latest Substack piece that the window of opportunity for the Trump administration to conduct a regime change of the federal bureaucracy has closed. As a consequence, no meaningful long-term change will come out of the administration. One of the wonderful things about the crisis report is that you can go to Substack, join us there, and then you'll get links to everything. And in that one, we have the Gray Mirror, which is the Substack where this comes from, which is highly, it's a good one. It's from 6 days ago, but things are not moving as swimmingly as we would hope. Statute of Ibrahim Raisi, the Islamic Republic's regime president, has been toppled from its pedestal just days after being installed in Ardabil, northwestern Iran. Now, this is where we're going to get into all the stuff going on with Iran. And folks, there is a lot of problems. There are numerous students that are fighting. There are forces that are engaging and potentially pew-pewing. There's a lot of problems, to say the least. So from here, we're going to have a lot of information. And when you go through it and I show you this stuff, know that this is like the tip of the iceberg. For everything I read, there's 10 that were out there. And this would be a 2-hour broadcast. So, clashes between Iranian protesters and Islamic Republic security forces in Qom. Qom is considered a holy city by the Shia Muslims and by far the most religious conservative in Iran. Streets of Nahavand, a Luri majority area in Hamadan province, western Iran, become a battlefield. Pro-regime Iranians embedded with security forces in clashes with anti-government protesters. Video, and it's few and far between, but there's a lot of video actually getting out. So one has to wonder how that's happening. I'm thinking another foreign nation that begins with an I is probably helping get some of the stuff disseminated. Well, video from Nahavand shows the brutal suppression of anti-regime protests by Basij paramilitary forces of the IRGC terrorist organization. Farsan, capital city of Chahar and Bakhtiari province, with population of around 40,000 people, masked Iranian protesters stormed the city's Shiite seminary and Basij base to destroy it. Merchants of Tehran's central wholesale market joined in government protests today as protests against the rapidly deteriorating economic situation in the country have continued. Iranian netizens have reported problems on internet connection in some areas of the country. Protests in Kudasht has entered a decisive phase, and the widespread presence of anti-regime protesters has turned the streets into an example of what all of Iran could soon become. Citizens of Kudasht have taken over the city and are barricading it as the Islamic Republic's forces are planning to send troops to try and invade it. Iran is offering to sell advanced weapon systems, including ballistic missiles, drones, warships, to foreign governments for crypto, because their currency is screwed. I'll put it to you this way. It takes 1,350,000 rial, which is their dollar, to equal $1 American dollar. That, my friends, is what we call hyperinflation. Iran is offering to sell advanced weapon systems, including ballistic missiles, drones, and warships, to foreign governments for cryptocurrency in a bid to use digital assets to bypass Western financial controls. Iran's Ministry of Defense Export Center, known as Mindex, says it is prepared to negotiate military contracts that allow payment in digital currencies as well as through barter arrangements and Iranian rials, according to promotional documents and payment terms analyzed by the Financial Times. Offer, introduced during the past year, appears to mark one of the first known instances in which a nation state has publicly indicated its willingness to accept cryptocurrency as payment for the export of strategic military hardware. IRGC-linked Fars news agency says that protesters in Hamadan burned Qurans and Shia prayer books during tonight's protests. According to regime media, it happened in the Sadaf area of Hamadan, with protesters burning the Quran and praying prayer books. Such incident happened at the same time that Iranian protesters also targeted the Hawz Aga Mosque in the Bayan al-Nahrain area of Hamadan in a group of 20 men, but they left before Basij units arrived before they could have burned the entire mosque down. There are nationwide calls for protests in Tehran tomorrow. Channel calling for this is precisely the largest Persian monarchist nationalist channel here on Telegram. Post already has received 40,000 views. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions at this time. There are all kinds of chants to bring back Pahlavi. He is the heir to the throne of Iran. So, Mexican cartels have continued to adapt to use drones for combat against rival cartels and Mexican authorities. In the video, members from the La Mayiza faction of the Sinaloa cartel dropped what appears to be a mortar round or an IED over multiple vehicles from a rival faction. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani is moving forward with plans to launch city-sponsored grocery stores. Affordable Care Act tax credits have officially expired, per ABC. Saks Fifth Avenue is preparing to file for bankruptcy within days after missing an interest payment on its debt. U.S. corporate bond market is expanding rapidly. Total outstanding public investment, grade and high-yield bonds is up to a record $11 trillion. Since 2009, the market has grown $8 trillion, or 267%. This has been driven by growth in high-rated BBB and A debt. U.S. housing affordability remains historically weak. It now takes 7 years for a median income U.S. household to save for the typical down payment on a median-priced home. This is the second highest reading in 12 years, excluding the 2021 to 2022 period when the personal savings rate was just as nasty. Current private credit boom is unprecedented. Private credit firms purchased or committed to buy a record $136 billion of consumer loans in 2025. This includes credit cards, buy now, pay later, and other consumer finance products. That's a problem. People don't talk about it. We talk about all of our debt, but we don't even have that figured into the regular old figures. China's rare earth exports to the U.S. are stabilizing. China's total export volumes of rare earth magnets fell 11% month over month in November to 582 tons, bringing total 2025 shipments to 5,378 tons. Shipments over the last 2 months have been in line with the monthly average recorded. President Trump has signed an order delaying tariff increases in upholstered furniture, kitchen cabinets, and vanities for 12 months. Oil prices have closed out on one of their toughest years in decades. WTI crude oil prices dropped 20% in 2025, posting the biggest loss since the 2020 Ronademic. After recording a flat year in 2024, this marks the third consecutive year with no gains. U.S. dollar experienced a historic decline in 2025. U.S. dollar index fell 9% in 2025, marking its worst performance since 2017. Represents a sharp reversal from the 8+% gain recorded in 2024. AI stocks have experienced a remarkable year. 3 of the S&P 500's top performers in 2025 were data storage companies, benefiting from massive AI-driven spending. SanDisk, SNDK topped the list with 559% return, followed by Western Digital, Seagate at 284% return. That's pretty crazy. Liquidity pressures in the financial system spiked into year-end. Demand for the Fed's standing repo facility just jumped to $75 billion, highest since the facility became permanent in 2021. The SRF enables banks to borrow cash from the Fed using government bonds. Federal Reserve is facing a massive spending problem. Government spending is up to $7.0 trillion over the past 12 months, near the highest in history. This is only below the $7.8 trillion on a 12-month rolling period since during the 2020 Ronademic and 2021 recovery. Japanese government bonds have recorded historic losses. Japan's 7 to 10-year bonds are down 32% in US dollars over the past 7 years, the worst performance amongst any major bond market. This is following by Germany's government bonds, which are down 8% over the same period. U.S. housing market activity may be resurging. Pending home sales jumped 3.3% month over month in November, well above expectations of 0.9%. Marks the fourth consecutive monthly gain, matching the longest streak since the early 2020 Ronademic. U.S. households are becoming more pessimistic about their finances. Only 26.4% of American households expect their financial situation to improve over the next year, lowest since August 2023. Percentage also matches May 2025 levels following the Liberation Day thing. Minnesota has rolled out a new 20-week paid leave program, allowing new neighbors to take time off of work with job protection and continued pay. Tommy Lee Jones's daughter, Victoria, was discovered dead at a California hotel on New Year's Day, with the cause of death still unknown. Not a fan of taxes, but all of a sudden, this is something for you all to think about. The electronic concentration camp is ready to go online. The algorithm, including alt media, pushes tax revolt. All of a sudden, well, timing is a dead giveaway. In a social credit system, there is no income tax. Whoa, tell me more, PrepperNow. Robert A. Heinlein described a social credit economy in his 2003 posthumously published first novel, written in 1938, For Us the Living, a Comedy of Customs, and his 1942 novel, Beyond the Horizon, describing a similar system in less detail. In Heinlein's future society, government is not funded by taxation. Instead, government controls the currency and prevents inflation by providing a price rebate to participating business and a guaranteed income, UBI, to every citizen. So forward-thinking, Mr. Heinlein. He actually is a great writer. Telegram founder Pavel Durov has accused Emmanuel Macron of seeking to return the European Union into a digital gulag. Percentage of older Americans who are working is declining. Employment to population ratio for those age 55 and over is down to 36.8%, lowest since 2021. Excluding the 2020 Ronademic, this is the lowest percentage in 18 years. Migrant gangs attacked random people and rescued service workers with fireworks on during yesterday's New Year's Eve celebrations in Birmingham. Iran on the verge of a breaking point. Iran has entered a dangerous new phase as anti-regime protests intensify and blood is now being spilled in the streets. What began as a public outrage has grown into a sustained uprising. Demonstrators openly defying the ruling authorities despite a sweeping security crackdown. Reports indicate that lives have been lost as tensions escalate, turning nationwide unrest into a deadly confrontation between the people and the regime. Crowds continue to surge day after day, chanting against corruption, oppression, and decades of authoritarian rule. Security forces have responded with force, arrests, and intimidation, but the protests have not stopped. Instead, they appear to be growing bolder. And Mr. Maduro has signaled a willingness to talk with the U.S. Finally, it's a late-breaking one. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said he is open to discussions with the United States on drug trafficking, oil, and migration. Speaking on state television, he said talks could take place in wherever and whenever Washington chooses. His remarks followed U.S. strikes on vessels accused of transporting narcotics from Venezuela. That, my friends, is your crisis report for January 1st, 2026. Congratulations, you made it. God bless you all. Thanks so much for being here. Looks like you made it. That's your crisis report, friends. You want to help us? Be like Water Tiger. Become a member. Be like Stealth Mode. Be like Howard Clegg. Help us. Join us. Join the resistance. Together we will take over and reclaim. Just kidding. Actually, kind of not. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. Friends, you want to turn that 401k or that IRA into gold and silver, this is the place to do it. Highly rated, recommended by Bloomberg. They're rated by Better Business Bureau. This is a great company. Check them out, link in the description. Other links in the description. Join us on Subscribestar. Join us on Locals. Join us on Twitter, X, Mine, Gaps. All of them. Join us. Friends, God bless you all. We appreciate you being here, and we will see you on the next one. And we appreciate you. God bless you all. Thanks, guys. Double tap on the way out. Thanks to our friends on X and Kick. Good night.